Well, good morning. We're back up at the mine shaft today. We are going to clean out the shaker table buckets and process some ore. I think we just need to change out all the water. So our first step would be to disconnect these hoses. If I can figure out how to do that. And we'll pull the inside buckets out. And we got to do that on the back one too. It looks like the hose is already disconnected on that one, so not a big deal. And we're going to go ahead and dump out everything in this bottom tray because it has leaves and dirt and stuff in there. We don't need any of that. And it's not that much water anyway, so we're just going to dump it down the hill. That's kind of gross. But don't worry, we have our mini truck with the water tank on board. So it looks like I brought about 25 gallons of water. That should be enough to get everything cleaned up. Wash all the mud out of the bottom of the tank. We should also take this opportunity to pan out anything in the good bucket because you never know what you're going to find. And we'll just dump everything right in here. Hope for the best. There's a little bit of residual stuff down in there, but I don't know if it's worth chasing. I guess we'll rinse it out. We have all of our good stuff in the pan here. We're going to give it a good swirl around. I'm going to wash the pan a little bit because it's pretty dirty. All right, so preliminarily, we have one big flake of gold. I don't know if we can get this in the light so you guys can see it. Let me get it. See that thing right there? That's about the size of, well, maybe a piece of rice, but it's pretty flat, so it's all right. But we're going to wash this down a little bit more, but that's encouraging. We have a little bit of gold. That's always good. All right, we have this washed down a little bit better. There's one nice big piece of gold right there in the pan. There's a little bit of gold up here on the edge. My camera's not really focusing on it, but it's not too big. But that one there, we're gonna put in our little suction bottle. We'll save that for a rainy day. All right, we have our good bucket reset in the back. I have it mostly full of water. And we have this tube going down into it. And on the shaker table, all the good stuff comes over here and ends up in this trough. And with any luck, goes in the red bucket. We also have our blue bucket full of water. We just got to put it in the tray. And I can't do that while I hold the camera. So hold on one moment. All right, now we have the blue bucket in there. The only thing we have to do now is fill up all this black bucket with water. And we're ready to start working. All right, we're filling another bucket. We have our generator running. And let's get to work. May not be very exciting, but what we're doing is pouring water in the buckets. Probably need about 2 more. Looks like 1 more will do it. All right, that'll do it. Now before we start working, I'm going to use this little scrubby pad and just clean the table. I'm sure it has all kinds of little algae and dirt and stuff and all the little cracks from last season that we haven't quite cleaned up. So we'll just give it every shot to be as clean as possible. You know what? It's a little cold out here today for some reason. They were saying the high was going to be in the 60s, but I don't think they meant in the shade. All right, also we want to clean out these little holes. They have leaves and stuff in them. Don't want that. Get those out of here. Probably clean out this waste trough. And we'll clean out the fines trough also. Just in case there's something hung up in there, maybe we'll get it in the gold bucket. All right, I think that's good enough to start working. At least it's good enough for the girls we date. As you can see, the water flow going into the waste bucket is pretty good. The water flow into the good bucket is good. Let's go ahead and turn on the shaker table. See if it works. The switch is down here somewhere. There we go. It's shaking just about the way you'd expect. All right, the next step is to find some material to process. I always keep a little bucket of material that I've been working on in here, anything that looks exciting. I think we're going to dump that out and go get some new stuff. So this is the ore waste pile from yesterday. I think we're just going to go right here in the middle somewhere and sample a little bit of stuff. Throw it in our bucket. And that should be good. Now the process from here is to take the little scooper, get some material, put that material in the strainer to get any big particles out of it, and we're going to strain that right into this gold pan. And then from there we will use that to spread it on the table. Now I'm not sure how this is going to work out because the shaker table is shaking everything pretty good, but we're going to just get a little bit of dirt, dump it in here, shake it into our gold pan. Dump all the extras back into our bucket, at least for a couple times, to make sure we get everything out of them. And that's what we end up with, some nice powdery stuff in the bottom of the pan. And then we'll take it over here to the shaker table and we're just going to kind of shake it along the top edge and let the water do its work. Pretty much all the muddy stuff comes right down to the bottom. And what we're looking for is any good stuff that starts migrating out here. You can already see some right out here at the end. Oh yeah, that looks like gold right there. But it'll flake down to the next thing here. It'll get stuck over there. And then it'll come down here. And with any luck, it ends up over here in the good stuff. So that's encouraging right off the bat. Let's keep going. We're going to sift it right into the shaker table. That should work just about as good or better. I wonder if Mrs. P is going to be missing this little colander thing. Found it in her kitchen. I'm sure she won't mind if we find some gold. Pretty good. I almost think we want a little bit more water flow, but I don't really know how to do that. Got to keep our debris tray nice and clean. Now occasionally we can get some big rocks in here. We need to just get those out of there because all they do is clog up the channels. Even here, maybe we should put these in the rock crusher, but not today. We're just gonna look for fine stuff today. But if we can find a couple ounces of gold a day like this, what's gold worth these days? Maybe $800, $500 an ounce? I have no idea. If you know what gold's worth, drop it down in the comments, because we have no idea. We just like finding it. There's also a lot of mica in the soil here, so not everything that sparkles is gold. A lot of that mica is super light and it floats right down to the debris trough, which is what we expect. Get the big rocks out of here. Anytime you get a big rock stuck here, it prevents the gold from shifting down. So it's a good idea to limit that as much as possible. But it's so much easier to sample soil with this shaker table than trying to pan out every little bit of gold. But I haven't found that I've lost anything in it yet. Occasionally I'll pan out the blue waste bucket just to make sure we're not losing stuff. And it always comes out pretty clean. Just let me know if you guys are getting dizzy watching this, and we'll do something else for a few minutes. But this is pretty much it. If we're not digging in the mine, we're processing the ore. And it takes a lot of time, but it sure is a beautiful day out here in the mountains. All right, I think we're going to say we're done with this bucket. Get up close here and see how our process is looking. So these are the gold grooves. Now, sometimes there's little bands of material, and I think it's just we're not getting enough water in that area to wash it out. But slowly anything heavy will bounce out towards the end here. And if you keep watching at the end, you'll see there's a little line of, well, I don't know what that is, probably just dirt. But each time it trickles off the end of one to the next, most of the dirt will flow over the top and end up in the waste bucket. So all we need to keep doing is just keep looking at the far ends of each of these troughs, like in there. That's pretty good looking stuff. But it seems like it's stuck. So we're gonna use our fingernail and break it up. Sometimes a little stone gets in there or something and stops it from traveling. Again, there's stuff at the end of all these tracks, so it's got to be heavy stuff or it would have bounced out by now. And it's not 100%. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of heavy stuff right at the end there. The whole idea is to get all the gold at the end, and if a little bit of dirt gets there, that's okay. We'll sort that out later. The water down here starts getting a little bit dirty, but it's okay. It just recycles it and brings it back to the top again. If we look at the good gold path, obviously not seeing much now, but it's been running for a little while. We're just going to let it keep running for a little bit. Occasionally I have to come down here to the waste trough and just stir it up a little bit so it goes down the pipe a little bit easier. Seems to get piles of sand in this area. I'm not sure what I could do about it, except maybe put a ramp in to force everything towards the outlet a little bit better. But it's not the end of the world. Just takes a few minutes there. Also got to make sure we get any big rocks out of these troughs. Definitely seems to slow up the process if there's any rocks in there. Man, there's lots of gold in there. Sometimes the gold is so heavy it doesn't move down the track very well. But usually if I just let it run for a while, it'll clean itself out. So we're just about at the end of the run. You can see all the tracks here on the top are cleaned out. There's a little bit of stuff in these ends still that needs to come down. There's a bunch of heavies right here that's still working their way over. But yeah, we don't want to disturb this too much because it's bouncing off the end to the next track, bouncing off the end to the next track. So all of this has a lot of little bitty fine gold, and we want it to go over here. Sure is a pretty day out here. Pretty quiet out here also, except for the shaker table and the generator. We do keep a little battery here on the shaker table. We can run it for about an hour or so without the generator. That's always nice. I think that's just about going to do it for the Rusty Pail Gold Mine. You guys make sure to get outside, do something fun, and come back and tell me about it.